Howdy folks, Jamboree here, and welcome to another episode of Film Chums. Joining me are my co-hosts, Viva Becca.
Hello.
And Sora Star.
Hi.
So, in this podcast, we're going to be tying in with the release of the new Batman movie by Matt Reeves, starring Robert Pattinson. We're going to be talking about 3 different, really strange animated Batman films. So, I know that Viva is like the resident DC fan here. So, you love Batman, right?
Yeah, I love Batman. I actually just finished playing through the Arkham series, yesterday. So, that's pretty cool. I'm, ready. I'm up on it. I'm up on Batman.
Awesome. And Sora, how do you feel about Batman?
Well, I don't really have any, real connections to Batman, because, I never really watched anything as a child, because I kind of thought it's on the same vein as X-Men, where it's he's a bit too serious and brooding for me, so he's not really the kind of shows that I would watch. But I do respect the franchise as a whole, and I really think that animated series in particular is probably what I would watch if I had to watch something Batman related, because I've never seen any of the live action films, because they just don't really interest me, but I still have respect for the franchise and everything that it's done.
For me, I love Batman. Batman in general was one of my obsessions as a kid, and I used to watch Batman Returns on repeat. Or the Schumacher films, watch them on repeat, and I love Batman the Animated Series. I had a bunch of Batman toys as well. See, I was a Batman kid, in other words. And to this day, I still love Batman. I've seen nearly every adaptation except for Dark Knight Rises and that new Batman movie that's came out. So yeah, I know my Batman. I've seen loads of the Batman animated movies, like Mask of Phantasm, which I consider to be my favourite Batman film, and Under the Red Hood, and others. So yeah, casual Batman fan. Yeah.
Are you planning on seeing the new Batman movie?
I doubt it, because I don't have time. I don't have time and I don't have money.
I want to see it.
I'm interested in seeing it, but I just don't have the option. I mean, nowadays, because of my lack of time and money, I tend to just watch new films when they become digital.
Yeah, I was just wondering. I don't know. I've seen mixed reviews.
Yeah, same.
Okay, so let's start off with Batman Gotham by Gaslight. This film is set in a period version of the Batman universe where Jack the Ripper is killing women in Gotham, and Bruce Wayne is trying to unmask Jack with help from Selina Kyle. We later find out that Jack is Commissioner Gordon and has been killing prostitutes in a bid to quote-unquote cleanse Gotham.
Yeah, so were you disappointed they didn't make Batman British or what?
It was weird, because it had the aesthetic of Britain. It had a British historical figure, but it was in Gotham, which is based on New York. So I was like, this is freaky. This is really freaky. But I can't really, even as a Brit, I can't really say how faithful it was to history, because at school we didn't really learn about Jack the Ripper. We mainly learnt about Henry the Eighth and his bajillions of wives. It would be even weirder for people that didn't know they were going into a film set during period Gotham. I mean, Sora, you were saying that as soon as you saw this film, you were overwhelmed. So, is there a reason why?
I just I don't know what I was expecting, honestly, because I've never I'm gonna be honest, I've never heard of any of these movies that we watched. So, I was surprised to see it was set in Victorian London, and then obviously, they did Poison Ivy really dirty at the start. And then
yeah.
And then it's about Jack the Ripper, and I was like, oh right, okay. And then the Jack the Ripper stuff gets dropped, and then there's all these orphan boys threatening a couple, and then suddenly Batman appears in full Batman outfit, just looking like Batman, and I was like, wait, what? And all this happens in the first 4.5 minutes.
Yeah.
It does, but to DC fans, we're going, oh look, all the Robins are street urchins.
Oh, yeah. It's not that it was confusing, it was that just so much happened.
To be fair though, I'd say that this one was the least weird out of all the 3 films.
Yeah, this one
Would you both agree?
This one was my favourite out of all of them that we watched, and I thought it also was the least weird.
I would say the least weird for me would be the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles one, just because in the Batman universe they're always doing crossover events with different random characters, and they always follow like a similar structure to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles one. So it's like, oh yes, like I've seen this one. I've seen this before with other characters.
Yeah, I get why you'd respond like that, but I do love the period aesthetic for this film, like the way the characters are dressed.
Oh man.
What?
Man, they like. I was so let down, like, because the poster looks really good, you know, and I was hoping that they would do something like the Ninja one, where they actually like put a lot of work into the way that the movie looked, because it's like a different it's different scenery. It's supposed to be a feast for the eyes kind of deal, and I feel like the production on this one like felt super cheap. Like, it's different streets and stuff, but all the outfits looked really boring and not very interesting. The animation quality was, like, the worst out of all of the movies. I was like, wow, they missed a chance. Like, if they had made it look like the poster, I might watch it again, because I feel like the Gotham, like, the standard Gotham look with the gargoyles and stuff would work well mixed in with some of that Victorian steampunk kind of deal, but like they didn't put in details into anything, so it didn't really pop off. It kind of looked like Liberty's Kids in terms of like the detail in the historical setting. Like it's there, but it doesn't really look interesting.
I guess I wasn't so disappointed because it kind of looks like your typical straight-to-video DC animated film. Like some of them look pretty damn good, but most of them look like this. They usually have this kind of budget, so I wasn't taken back, and I just appreciated what we were given. I was like, okay, if this is all you can afford, so it's kind of typical.
I mean, it's what they can afford. You're right. Like a lot of them ones look like that,
and the DVD covers are always misleading. Like DC animated DVD covers look 100 times better than the finished product. They always do.
But they're trying to do, like, they were trying to map their more simplified animation style on, like, this period thing where you would watch it because it looks fancy and nice. And if it doesn't look fancy and nice, like, what's the point?
Okay, I get you. I guess my expectation was just low. I watched this film last, and I found it kind of refreshing to see a Batman film that was like focused more on Bruce's detective skills than like constant crazy action.
I don't really have anything to kind of compare it to, but I did enjoy like the mystery in this one. Like always, it always kept me guessing. Like even like as to who Jack the Ripper was, because like I was like at the start I thought it was gonna turn out to be the physician guy, and I was gonna be very angry if it did turn out to be him because of how obvious they were making it. So like I'm putting my detective hat on, like, right, I think it's him, but then he dies by Jack the Ripper, and I'm like, right, okay, so it's not him, so maybe it's this other guy, but then it can't be him because he shows up at the same time that he's there, and then I was like, what if it's him? I kind of, like, at one point I was like, well, it's probably the chief of police, but then like, they steer you away from thinking it's him as well, and then I'm like, and then obviously when it is revealed to be him, you're like, oh, well, like, you're still surprised, but you were kind of like, oh yeah, of course it's him, but like, the reason why it was him, that, like, I didn't pick up on it. Like, the reason just kind of came out of nowhere for me.
Because the film is, like, not really sticking to canon much, it could have been anyone. It could have been absolutely anyone, and no one would have been offended because this is almost like a different universe.
Yeah.
So it was kind of cool to see Commissioner Gordon, like, one of the good guys, just being this psychopathic, hyper-religious, genocidal madman. I was like, oh, okay. There could have been more clues, but the clues they did give were like, oh, that's all right. Like we know that Jack is a big, tall man. That he was at the nun's funeral, and his motive was based on cleaning up Gotham. I do kind of wish they leaned a bit more with like the religious side of things, because I know what you mean. Sorry, like you were saying, like the religious angle kind of came out a bit out of nowhere.
Yeah, I was really annoyed that it was Commissioner Gordon. I was like, well, first of all, pretty sure they cheated because Commissioner Gordon has like brown hair, and if the other scenes where they show freaking Jack the Ripper in the back of his head, it's gray. And I'm like, what the heck, dude? You telling me he like freaking bleached his hair and then he dyes it every time he gets out of his costume? Like, you cheated. How are you supposed to know it's him if you're like misleading people with this?
Like, that's what steered me away from thinking it was him, because I was like, it's definitely him, but then like it showed you Jack from behind, and he had like dark like grey black hair.
That's what I mean. Like I said, there should have been way more clues. It should have been more consistent with the big reveal.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it was kind of cheap because they were just cheating, being like, okay, well, we're gonna super mislead you by just being like, oh, surprise, this one guy. I feel like they did stick pretty close to a lot of the characters' origins, like the little bat orphans going and, like, trying to rip off Alfred, and then he kind of, like, adopts them. That's pretty close. And I feel like they stayed pretty close to most of the characters, except for Gordon, and they just randomly made him evil, and they changed his hair color to trick you. And they, like Barbara Gordon's, like, just randomly Harley Quinn or something for some reason. Why? I don't know.
It was like they were more fixated on, we want to have this crazy religious character. Yeah, they're more fixated on, like, we want this to be a big shock. They weren't really thinking, okay, but how does the rest of the film connect with that big shock? It only very loosely connects.
I wouldn't recommend it. You're not gonna get period excitement stuff. You're not gonna get, like, a good story, and just the general production is, like I said, pretty weak. So you're not gonna get a good movie. So I can't really think of a reason that you would watch it.
Well, like, as someone who's never seen any Batman movie before in my life, like, I thought this movie was okay, and, like, it's easy to like follow.
Yeah, that's why I said it was the least weird. It's the one that gets the least crazy. When you boil it down, it is very much like a standard detective mystery. Compared to the others where they just go completely mad towards the end of their films.
Yeah.
Okay, ready for Batman Ninja?
No.
Yep. No. No.
Well, sorry, but we're talking about it. In this movie, Gorilla Grodd builds a time machine, but his invention malfunctions, sending Batman and his many Gotham villains to period Japan. Bruce must team up with Catwoman, his sidekicks, and a ninja clan to stop his rogues gallery from taking over Japan. So Sora, you're the first to say no to this. So why don't you like this film?
I didn't realize when he gave us a list that, like, this was that, like, weird anime JoJo-esque Batman movie that was on Netflix. So when I looked it up, I was like, oh, it's this one. I was actually, like, wanting to watch this, like, a few months ago when it like came out, because it just looked really interesting and, like, different, and I like the art style, like what was shown in the trailer. But, like, actually, like, watching it, like, I didn't particularly actually enjoy the art style as much as I thought that I would. And, like, the story was really confusing at the start. Like, I don't know what on earth was going on. And then suddenly Japan.
I think, like, that sums up the whole thing. Suddenly Japan.
Yeah. Like,
it could have been the tagline.
And then, obviously, when they're in Japan, like, the art there is really lovely. Like, the background, and I especially love how the sky looks when it's just, like, plain daytime. And, I couldn't follow, like, I followed along, like, as much as anyone could, I think, but some parts were really confusing, and I didn't really get what was going on or what was happening, but I don't understand why it's just Gundam and a bunch of, like, anime kind of references, and, like, the voice acting didn't, like, I watched it in English and the voice acting did not match whatsoever, so, like, I mean, that kind of added to it for me, like, the whole, like 90s anime where, like, none of the voice acting would match ever, and it kind of, like, made me feel nostalgic a little bit.
I kind of wish I watched this film in its original Japanese, if I'm honest.
Yeah, same.
Because I know what you mean. And it's to be fair, it's a good cast, but the mouths don't really match.
Don't you know how bad razor-edged fighting fans are for the environment?
You're the one who keeps throwing them.
Because you won't let them hit you!
I'm assuming everybody was speaking English, and the people that were in Japan would be speaking Japanese, but there was a moment where the Walla people were speaking in English, which I thought was weird. Like, they should have had Japanese Walla for that. Like, why dub over the Walla? They're literally supposed to be Japanese, so just leave in the Japanese Walla then. I thought that kind of was sloppy and not good.
We are the Bat Clan of Hida. Our lives are guided by an ancient prophecy.
I noticed for the voice cast, they pretty much just mashed together, like, the usual cast of people they get for Batman and then like the usual cast of people they get for dubbing anime, which I guess fits with the flavor of the movie. I don't really like either of those casts very much, so I didn't enjoy the voice acting. But I understand why they did that. I can't imagine they did any like actual casting. They probably just pulled up their email list of the same people they use for freaking everything, and then they're just like, hey, got another thing for you. Don't even have to audition. I thought the movie was fun to look at. I feel like the characters look better when they're not moving, so you don't notice the 3D as much.
It's kind of nauseating, and I feel like it's the kind of style that makes it feel like it's a long cutscene in a video game. I kept feeling like I was watching a cutscene in a video game.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say it looks boring. It definitely looks interesting, and it's very dynamic. It's just a bit much to watch.
I feel like it was the experience of seeing like a cool fan art poster where they do like a lot of different Japan-inspired designs for like the Batmobile and the armor and stuff. It's like that. It's like the experience of looking at that poster, but like for an hour and a half or however long it is.
It is a bit, when you think about it, it is a little fanficky in a way.
Yes, there's like a AU fan fiction.
I don't know how much it has to do with like Batman's stuff, but I do appreciate how much like Japan flavor reference things they crammed into it. Like they have the monkeys, they have hot springs, they have like fetch quests, they have like power of friendship, coming together, robots cramming together,
giant mech,
like showing up in a village and then being attacked because you're on a wanted poster kind of deal.
Yeah, I do agree it's awesome how anime this film is, but at the same time, the movie's overindulgence in old school anime style, tropes, and pacing is kind of a detriment. And I would say that this is more of an anime film than a Batman film. And to be fair, that's because it's a Japanese production, and I feel like they were given a lot of freedom. One of its biggest problems is that it's very rushed and throws you right into the past. It's like, hey, monkey make time machine, bam bam, Batman in feudal Japan. Does just drop you into the deep end. I feel like the action takes a much bigger focus than Batman's internal struggles.
Yeah.
And like that's one of the drawing points for a lot of Batman fans, is like going into his psyche. With this one, it was just like Bruce's struggle to adapt to the times. He's like, one moment he's like, I've lost everything. I can't do this. Then one of Robin's just like, yeah, you can, mate. And then he's like, yes, I can. It just carries on. Don't get me wrong, it is a fun love letter to Japanese anime and culture, but it does get overexcited with itself and doesn't seem that interested in Batman lore.
It just kept on getting like more and more and more. Like as soon as I thought like, oh, this must be the climax of the movie, there was another one, and then another one, and then another one.
You know what it made me think? It made me think that like every time someone asked the director, hey, do you want this? Do you want that? Every time he just said yes.
Cause see, like when Batman first appears in Japan and then Joker and Harley, like they make the big house robot, I was like, this is like final boss level stuff, and they're throwing it at you like right at the start. So I was like, right, how can they go up from here? But they do, and then they do it again.
The bit where I was like, okay, movie, you've lost me, is where it was like, okay, we're gonna summon all these monkeys, and the monkeys are gonna turn to a giant power Zord, and then they're gonna summon all these bats, and the bats are gonna turn to a giant Batman. I'm like, did a child write this? And I mean that as a compliment. It feels like it really does make you feel like it feels like you said, nostalgic. There's something kind of childlike about it that I find kind of charming in a way.
Yeah, I think it was a fun watch. I think it's worthwhile just because of the aesthetic and the character designs, because you are treated to new ones throughout the movie, so there's actually content there, which is nice. You have to just watch it and realize that the point of the story is to cram in as many anime things as possible. It's not really like a story to develop Batman or like have a mystery or anything. It's literally just how many anime things can we cram in here.
5! Unite and serve the sixth heavenly deity, Lord Joker!
go into it with some popcorn, maybe some beer. You'll have a fun time.
It kind of feels like an anime that like nobody had any faith in, so they were like, oh, how do we get people interested? Oh, I know, let's just throw Batman in there and see what happens.
Is everyone ready to move on to Batman vs. TMNT?
Yeah.
In this film, Raj Al Ghul and Shredder have teamed up. Raj has combined Shredder's ooze with Joker's venom and plans to release it onto Gotham. So Batman, Robin and Batgirl team up with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and set out to stop the villains. However, it won't be easy because Batman's rogues have been sprayed with Shredder's ooze, which has mutated them all into animal monsters.
Okay, so the first thing I need to know from you both. Did you grow up with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? Are you a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle fan?
I kind of have the same relationship with this as I do to Batman. Like, I know of it, and like I saw a couple episodes here and there as a kid, and like I have actually seen one of the live action movies, but I didn't really enjoy it. But like I do like the whole idea of it. It's just something that I've never gotten into, like personally had the time for, but it seems really interesting, the same as Batman.
I know a little bit about it. I mean, I wouldn't really say that I grew up with like much of anything because I wasn't allowed to watch TV. So most of these things, like I know, like I got into them to know what people were talking about like later on. So I have seen episodes from various versions of the show, and then I've seen the live action movies, and I've seen a couple animated movies.
So for me, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was like I'd say 80% of my childhood, maybe. Like I was obsessed with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I had the toys, I watched the cartoons, I watched the live action films. When I say live action films, I mean like the puppet movies back in the 90s. I never watched the Michael Bay movies. They look dreadful. I don't want to see them. I've seen a couple of episodes of the 2003 version, a couple of episodes of other shows, kind of dipped in and out, but I'd say if I was to really round up my relationship with TMNT, it's very nostalgic, very, very nostalgic. Mm-hmm. And as a TMNT fan, kinda, I found it awesome seeing the Turtles crossover with Batman, because I was also obsessed with Batman as a kid. When I watched this movie, it made me feel like a kid again. Like just watching Shredder and Batman fight. Like, if I told my 8-year-old self one day that would happen, I'd be like, what? Well, I want to see. It's like, it kind of lived out some fantasies for me. Like, and like Batman having Pete's with the Turtles and the DC villains teaming up with Shredder. I was like, oh, this is so fan servicey, but like I'm eating it all up. Mm-hmm. As you two aren't that into TMNT, what was your relationship with the film as an outsider?
Well, like, I've never heard of this movie, and like, when I saw the list of movies we were to watch, like, I was least excited for this one, and I was like, I'm not gonna have a good time watching this, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was awesome, and like, I thought like the story like flowed really well. Like, I don't think anything was really wasted apart from like one part, but I'll get into that later. And like, I really like the characters, and obviously because I don't really know much about the Ninja Turtles other than like they're named after Renaissance painters and they live in the sewer and eat pizza and fight bad guys. That's like all I know about them. But like, I thought that the movie did a good job of like giving them individual like personalities.
I'm curious, what did you think of Mikey? Because he's my favourite turtle.
I was, as an adult, I found him really annoying, but I know that if I watched this as a kid, like I'd be obsessed with him. Like I'd be absolutely obsessed with him, and I would say his lines all the time and annoy everyone at school because he's just so like fun and like he's so curious and like wowed by everything, and like I'd probably have loved him as a kid.
Well, it's really easy to make him like annoying, and the fact that they made his lines okay in the movie, that's pretty good, because in the hands of a worse writer, like, he gets annoying really easily.
Oh, definitely. I've seen much worse versions of him. So trust me, like I'd say this is one of the better versions of him. I think the reason why he's not annoying is because he's kind of an audience surrogate. Because his reactions to all these cool things is like how fans would react to all these different things. That's how I was reacting. So I was joining in with Mikey. I was like, that's so cool.
Yeah.
A polar bear with an ice gun. That is so cool!
Viva, as an outsider to this franchise, how did you feel about the film?
Yeah, I thought it was surprisingly good, given the name and how easy it would have been for the studio to just cash in on it and not put any effort into it. So I was surprised when I watched it. I was like, oh, what the heck? The writing decent and the story's going along decent. Interesting.
When I was going into this film, I was thinking, okay, it's just going to be the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fight Batman, they make up, and then they go and fight Shredder and Joker, and that's it. That's the movie. It kind of is.
Yeah.
But there's a bit more to those beats. Like, both sides are trying to second guess the other's motives, and they take the time to decide whether they should trust the other. Plus, the whole Shredder and Ra's al Ghul team up isn't an equal pairing, because Ra's al Ghul is clearly more in charge, and Shredder's kind of begrudgingly accepting that. And bringing Shredder's ooze into the story helps blend both heroes and villains in a way. It's like, yeah, it definitely went above my expectations. I knew I was going to find it the most fun because it just had two of my most nostalgic childhood properties, but like I didn't know I was going to have that much fun.
Yeah, the movie's a blast, and I really loved the villain, and like you're right that like
which one?
Shredder. Yeah, like he was really menacing, and like it was kind of like I don't know how to describe it, but like seeing him like beat up Batman and getting some like really good punches in there and like really giving Batman a run for his money. But then when he teamed up with the other villain and he's just like putting him down all the time, like, oh, you're so lame and you suck and you mess up all the time. And I'm like, did you see what he did to Batman?
Yeah, I'll be honest, like, the Batman vs. Shredder fight was probably my favourite fight out of all three films.
Yeah, it was really good.
I'd say the Joker vs. Batman finale and Batman Ninja came close, but I love Batman vs. Shredder.
Yeah.
It was such a cool fight. Such a great fight.
This movie was super violent as well. Like, they just straight up, like, cut some guy's head off, and I was like, oh, no.
Okay, this brings me on to what I was saying early on. So, here's the interesting thing. I was shocked too. Because Teenage Mutant Turtles never ever gets that violent, and what's even more interesting is that during the 90s, the franchise got so much criticism for being violent, even though it wasn't that violent, that they decided to like switch out their ninja weapons for like food and stuff they found lying around, like squishy soft things.
Wow.
So to see this film being like, fuck it, we're just gonna chop people's heads off, I was like, finally, parents have no say in this.
I know, and like I couldn't find what age this was for. Like some one page said it was a 14 plus, and I was like, what? 14 for this?
Yeah, I'd say this is probably, if it was to get PBFC, it's probably a 15 or a 12.
And I saw like some parent reviews, and they were hilarious. They were like, "There's too much violent and swearing. Oh, the language."
I get what they mean though, because like, so back at this time when this film came out, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was a Nickelodeon show.
Are we talking or crazy capturing? I'm laying a hurt on you here, bro.
No, I will not be defeated.
Like the part with the insane asylum was kind of like, it kind of felt like a little bit like filler. But like with the Joker and Harley and turning into animals, and I really did not like the animal designs. Like I thought they looked really bad.
I was like, well, I wonder how much fan art this has, because they have like, they turn them all into animals, and then like, doesn't dog Harley like kiss gross snake Joker? Like I was like, whoa, the furries are gonna love this. There's gotta be like loads of drawings of this online somewhere.
That was, but like the character designs were just so like especially on Harley and the Joker, like their faces were so square, and it was really off-putting, and like it didn't really look good to me at all.
Yeah, I didn't think that the designs were very good looking, and it might sound like the way we're describing it that they're like, oh, that's good. They're drawing them to be scary and threatening. It wasn't that. They didn't look threatening. They just looked stupid, like badly drawn, you know?
They look kind of silly, but I like that. Kind of added to the fun for me. I was like, especially Holly does look really. She's like a Labrador, and she goes.
I don't know. Like it looks like they got an artist who had never seen an animal before, and they were trying to explain what it looked like, and they were just drew what they first went with, and they were like, yeah, let's go with that. And I didn't really understand like the villain's overall plan, like just turning the city into animals, like didn't really make a lot of sense to me.
Okay, so we can explain that. So I don't know if Fever agrees with me, but I don't feel like this film explained the whole Ra's al Ghul's kind of like shtick, because he is known for being someone that like despises Gotham as like this hellhole, and he just wants to wipe it all out and restart.
Honestly, I don't think any of the films did a good job of like getting in somebody who doesn't know anything about Batman.
Oh, I 100% agree.
None of them explained anything. You're just supposed to already know.
Yeah, because I thought the Ninja Turtles part was really like accessible. Like the only thing it kind of like glossed over was Master Splinter and like his role in their life and his role in their lives, and obviously like he's one of the parts of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles that I really like. I think he's really cool, and I just wish he was in the movie instead of just like a random flashback where he doesn't even talk. He's just kind of there.
I was disappointed that Splinter wasn't in this. And I was kind of expecting him just to turn up a bit later. And I mean, like, there was so much you could have done with Splinter, especially with like Alfred and Splinter, both franchises' mentor figures, having them meet together and like maybe chilling out, maybe having some tea together. I would love that. So it's kind of surprising he wasn't in there, and I don't know why he wasn't in there. Did this movie make both of you laugh, by the way? Because it made me laugh my ass off.
Oh yeah. Devils.
I don't remember, man. It was like I actually watched this one a while ago. I only remember like things that I really specifically noted when I was watching it.
But yeah, it was. I really liked the film's sense of humor, and like the humor was consistent as well, because it wasn't just like, hey, here's some Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles humor thrown into the Batman universe. They found that right balance of like sometimes Batman will say something dry, sometimes the Turtle will say something silly, and like there's a nice contrast between those humors, and they blend well. Yeah, I liked the film's humor.
I remember it being a good balance, because I've seen a lot of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle things where the humor is just really bad.
Yeah, and like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is like so like unrelentlessly like 90s with all their like yeah, bunga, whoa, extreme, awesome. But like they have like even though they do say all of those like catchphrases in the movie, it doesn't feel out of place.
No, I think it's because, and this is something I realized halfway through the film, is that the Turtles aren't that much different to Batman's Rogues Gallery. It's like they're good versions of like the weirdos that live in Gotham. So they did kind of slide into this world very naturally.
Yeah, it was nice that they decided to pair up one turtle with one character.
Yes, I liked
like
that.
Side Batman character.
Yeah.
And they had like they made a beautiful column, and then Batman was just at the top.
Yeah, I liked that the film did a decent job of like giving each character sort of their own arc, and that arc was tied into a character from the other franchise. That was good. It's probably the best way of doing a crossover like this.
Yeah, that was a nice dynamic of like they just both learn from each other, because like Batman learns that like they're a family and they got to work together, because he was gonna just do it on his own, and then like the other one learned from Batman as well.
They inspire each other. It's like Batman motivates the Turtles to be more mature, and the Turtles motivate Batman to kind of like have a bit more heart and a bit more humor to what he's doing, which is why I really like the ending, where like both of those tones come together really smoothly, where Batman's like, look, thank you for kind of like not only helping save Gotham, my city that I love, but also thank you for kind of like helping me to like embrace a sillier personality. Let's have pizza together. I was like, that's a great ending.
Yeah,
it was very cute.
I really appreciate that they actually like put in the effort to color all the turtles a different shade of green.
Oh yeah, and they have different head shapes as well, I noticed.
Yeah. And so I was like, good. There's a lot of ones where they just look the same, where they just, all of the, like, the two, the purple one and the blue one look the same, and then the orange one is really small, and the red one is just really muscular, and that's how they differentiate them.
This is the one I enjoyed the most. I had the most fun from this one.
This was a good one.
I'd say this is the one that, out of all three, I'd most likely rewatch.
I'd rewatch this one, and I would rewatch the Jack the Ripper one, but I probably wouldn't watch the Ninja one ever again or recommend it to anybody.
I don't know. This one was surprisingly good. I think I would recommend this one and the Japan one. In terms of one that I would probably rewatch either this one or the Japan one. Probably the Japan one, just because that has more. It has like the designs, the character designs, and the art and stuff.
Okay, so those are all the films we're going to be discussing. So, Viva and Sora, do you like it when Batman gets a bit weird?
I don't mind, because one of the very first like Batman crossovers I ever watched was like Scooby-Doo meets Batman and Robin, so like I'm used to this when it comes to Batman.
I think it's an element that can be used. I don't think it's something that's going to make it necessarily good or make it necessarily bad.
For me, it's a personal bias. I like my weird. So I definitely felt at home with a lot of these films because, like, I like the strange, I like the unusual. So seeing any film, it doesn't matter whether it's Batman or whatever, if things get completely like out there, I'm happy. Okay, so I've been Jamboree.
And Solar Star.
And I'm Batman, and this is where my parents died.
How a bummer, dude. Cheerio, folks.